This is Hindsight Radio.
I represent it.
The information station changing the nation.
Voter stuff when you weren't supposed to be voting, maybe.
I didn't.
So
they just roll up on the man about voter. He's just chilling. I mean, you can see this man looks like, what the hell did I do now? It's like, in this country, we got so things that are going on, serious stuff that's going on. Sex trafficking, abuse, gun violence, poverty. People are having a hard time buying gas, and here they're spending resources arresting people for voter fraud. But when you see why and how this is all playing out, this is truly ridiculous. This is one of those things where these are victimless crimes that no one is harmed, no one got hurt, no one's in the hospital over this, and you're ruining a man's day for something in 2020. This is 2022 now. This is going on. And he's being arrested. And I could just imagine that being you. But let me keep playing.
What are they talking about?
that's what we're not the case agents, but what you got to do, they have reduced your bond quite a bit. It's 2 felony charges for voter fraud, but they reduced it to $500 bonds. So it's
you get a felony for just trying to pick a candidate. You get a felony. A felony. It's not a misdemeanor. It's a felony. Like, what? It shows you how this is a corporation we're dealing with here. And they take voting for their candidates seriously. It's a corporation. This is a private business. This is what I'm going to be talking about, and tonight. I'm going to be talking about public versus private, state of versus state of, all caps. I'm going to go into this and understand, show you what you're dealing with. So you think you're dealing with the public. That's the public. But when I break this down tonight, y'all going to see. It is not. Let me just keep playing this craziness.
$1,000.
Oh my God, man! What?
Yes, sir. So unfortunately, right now we're gonna have to take you to jail, but you got a bond right away.
You got to go to jail
to
for this
appearance,
nonsense.
nothing like that.
I think it's stupid.
So,
I didn't do it.
Okay, so ma'am, we have a warrant for your arrest.
This one.
Good, how are you, sir?
Right? Oh my God. Hold on. Wait, let me tell him.
We're telling he's right here.
Right here. So if you can put your hands on your back, please. Oh my God.
Look how she treating her like she just murdered someone. Do not move and put your hands by embarrassing this woman in front of home.
Right. So you have a warrant. It's for voter fraud, okay? Hear me out. It's an ROR. You know what an ROR is?
Oh my God.
You go in, you get booked, and then they're going to release you from booking.
You go right out.
You're going to be right back out. Okay? But you have a warrant.
The hell out of you.
Okay.
Screw you and embarrass the hell out of you.
I'm like, voter fraud, but I ain't commit no fraud.
So that's the thing. I don't know exactly what happened with it, but you do have a warrant. That's what it's for.
Oh my God.
So I don't know what happened with that.
Just killed somebody.
That happened. God told me that I was
Yep. The warrant was just made yesterday. So
you restrain people that are potential threats to society. That's potential. This is what law enforcement is supposed to be about. People who are wanting to harm others, you restrain those, but they're restraining someone who is not violent, not looking to be violent. And come on, you got to go in handcuffs. You got to, the corporation has its rules. But let's keep going.
yeah, I know. I don't know, ma'am. I honestly couldn't tell you. Okay. So I got to do some paperwork, and the quicker I can get the paperwork done, the quicker.
5 years in prison for registering to vote.
Hey, unfortunately, you got a warrant out. Okay. Yes, sir.
You gotta listen to this one
Put
here.
your hands behind your back for me.
Well, no, but whenever
really explain all that much. We made 12 guys when they came out here. So I was at the driver's license place, getting my new driver's license. Yeah. The guy there asked me, he says, hey, can you vote? He says, hey, I'm pretty sure I can. He goes, well, are you still on probation? I said, no. I got off probation like a month.
They're going through all of this man's pockets, like, like he just broke into somebody's house or something. I guess that's procedure, but I think it's just overkill for something that no one is in the hospital, no one is harmed, no property is damaged. Let's go.
The guy goes, well, then you can probably vote. Hey, just fill out the form, and if you can vote, then they'll give you a card. If you can't vote, then you won't. And I'm like, all right.
Yeah. The advice of the DMV. He went down there. They said, "Oh yeah, you should vote and you should fill it out and they'll let you know if you can." So he's telling them, "Hey, I can't vote because I have these issues." And they encourage him to do it anyway. See, they have these voter registration drives, right? Oh, you got to vote. You got to do this. It's your civic duty. They got people caught up in this civic duty nonsense. And now they're doing this, what they thought was their civic duty as lawful citizens of the United States or U.S. citizens. And what did it do? Get them in jail. They feel like they committed some crimes before, right? They did their time. They're out. Now, Florida, let me give you the context. Florida changed the rules that felons can vote, but certain crimes cannot vote. Sex offenders and murderers cannot vote. They don't get their restoration of rights to vote as a U.S. citizen. See, the corporation makes its rules for itself. So they could pick and choose who they want to vote and who not to vote. But if you're a murderer and you're a sex offender, you can't vote. So obviously he falls in one of those two categories. And he probably wanted to feel like normal according to what society wants him to feel normal. I feel normal. I feel like everybody else. It's you see what's going on here? It's this whole wanting to belong mentality. Get my camera up just a little bit, y'all. Yeah. It's this whole wanting to belong mentality to the system. The system is it indoctrinates you to believe that something is wrong with you because you can't vote or you're not able to vote. So they give you the opportunity. Okay, man, I could vote and vote for these guys that do nothing. The same people he's trying to vote for are the same ones who probably are locking him up right now. Crazy. Let's keep going.
You know what I'm saying? That sounds like a loophole to me.
Well, we can hope.
Can you give this back to me? Yes, sir. Will do.
It's because of the sex offender thing that you can't vote. So, I mean, the warrant is for the voting deal, I guess, but...
They got off suspending resources together. This stuff here. They get, okay. Let's talk about this here.
Yeah, I guess they're doing like some kind of roundup thing or something for all the ones.
This is political, right? Because they could have just did like, hey, you need to come on down to the office. We got a warrant because you voted illegally. Come on down. Because, in the last one, they said, you're going to leave right away. Come on in. We're going to let you go. Blah, blah, blah. They didn't have to. I don't think they had to spend any research. I think most people that just showed up, boom, and they'd have just let them go. But they wanted to get this, hey, we're cracking down. And then, let's look at the article here. Let's look at the article. Let me minimize the. No, I don't want to do that. Exit full screen. Oh, there's an article here. How do I get back to that article? Well, I can't get back to it. I'm trying to read. There's a part in here that talks about the let's see. Let me just go ahead.
That were within the county.
Yeah, I had to do one of these this morning already.
Oh, really?
Do you know the statutes for 'em?
It doesn't say it on the.
Let's walk over to my car.
Why is y'all doing it now and this happened years ago?
I don't know. I have no idea, man.
This shit crazy, man. Y'all put me in jail for something I didn't know nothing about. Why would y'all let me vote if I wasn't able to vote?
That's a damn good question right there. There it is. All right, let me exit the. There we go. All right, here's the article. I'm gonna read it. It says, when police went to arrest Tony Patterson outside his Tampa home in August, he couldn't believe the reason. What is wrong with this state, man? I would say the same thing if I was him. Patterson protested that he was being escorted to a police car in handcuffs. Voter fraud. Y'all said anybody with the felony can vote, man. See, they probably did a whole publicity stunt talking about if you got felonies, you can still vote, but wasn't telling people the whole story. Body-worn camera footage recorded by local police captured confusion and outrage of Hillsborough County residents who found themselves in handcuffs for casting a ballot following investigations by Governor Ron DeSantis' new Office of Election Crimes and Security. See, they trying to prove a point. The August 18th arrest, conducted hours before DeSantis called a news conference to tout his crackdown on alleged voter fraud, were carried out by state police officers accompanied by local law enforcement. The never-before-seen footage obtained by the Herald Times through public records request offers a personal glimpse of the effects of DeSantis' efforts to root out perceived voter fraud. Fraud is when you knowingly. We're going to look up the definition of fraud when I finish this, because this is ridiculous. You know what? Fraud. Wrongful or criminal deception intended to result in financial or personal gain. A personal thing intended to deceive others, typically by unjustifiably claiming or being credited with accomplishments or qualities. So, how is it fraud with no intentions? These people didn't have intentions. You got to show intent to defraud. They thought they could do it, but let's keep going. Of the 19 people arrested, 12 are registered as Democrats, and at least 13 are black, the Herald Times found. Now, keep in mind that DeSantis is a Republican. So 12 are Democrats. And I think the reason why most what they call black voters are registered as Democrats. And because we have the what you call highest incarceration rates amongst our people, of course it's gonna hit home for us more than others. Romana Oliver, 55, was about to leave for work when police walked up her driveway at 6:52 a.m. and told her they had a warrant for her arrest. Oh my God, she said. An officer told her she was being arrested for fraud, a third-degree felony for voting illegally in 2020. Crazy. Voter fraud, she said. I voted, but I ain't commit no fraud. Oliver and 19 others are facing up to 5 years in prison after being accused by DeSantis and state police of both registering and voting illegally. Now, they were coerced into voting. You know how they come around, vote, do this, do that, do that. And that one guy was saying that he told him, hey, most times you go to DMV, you just trying to do your thing. But they got all this stuff. Do you want to give blood? Do you want to vote? Do you want to do it? So they should have some liability on that, trying to push people into something. And they don't know the law. They're giving legal advice. When you tell people that they can vote, you just gave them legal advice. They're not lawyers. They're accused of violating a state law that doesn't allow people convicted of murder or felony sex offenses to automatically be able to vote after they complete their sentence. A 2018 state constitution amendment that restored the right to vote to many felons excluded this group. But as the video further purports, the amendment and subsequent actions by state lawmakers caused mass confusion about who was eligible, and the state's voter registration forms offer no clarity. They only require potential voters to swear, here it is, under penalty of perjury that they're not a felon, or if they are, that their rights have been restored. The forms do not clarify that those with murder convictions don't get automatic restoration of rights. I think if you're going to sign a contract like this, they should have made it clear that if you're this, you have these issues, you can't vote. So you would knowingly, if you were going to bypass that, you knowingly did it. It's very ambiguous. And I think that those who got advice from the DMV to do it, if they got registered to vote at the DMV under the advice of a DMV employee, they should sue the DMV. They got a cause of action against them for giving them bad advice. Really, it's legal advice when you look at it, because if I do it and I'm breaking the law, you just gave me bad advice that harmed me. See, now let me tell you, the true victims are the people that going through this problem with the voting. Those are the victims. Oliver, who served 18 years in prison on a second-degree murder charge, registered to vote at the Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles on February 13, 2020. 6 months later, she updated her address and completed another registration form. After brief eligibility checks for the Department of State, which reports to DeSantis and is responsible for cleaning the roads for ineligible voters, she was given a voter ID card both times. So they're supposed to check this. So who failed? Oliver wasn't removed from the rolls until March 30th this year, 22 years later, more than 2 years later. So they failed to do a check. She paid for it. The recordings by Tampa Police and Hillsborough County Sheriff's deputies reveal officers who were patient, understanding, and almost apologetic. A handcuffed Nathan Hart, 49, found a sympathetic ear when he explained how he ended up registering and voting illegal, according to the sheriff's office recording. As he stood handcuffed, he told officers that he signed up to vote at the encouragement of somebody at the driver's license place. Records show it was in March 2020. See, they were so wanting to get Trump out of office, and they was pushing this thing. Vote, 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 vote. See how you can get caught up in the public narrative, and then you end up in trouble. Now, only about 19 people got arrested off this. They call this a sweep. This was some big crackdown. It shows you that voter fraud is not really common. And this type of voter fraud was encouraged by the state. They were encouraged to vote when they shouldn't have been, when they didn't know the true details of the voting laws. And it was coercion to making a decision right there on the spot. I said, I am convicted felon. I'm pretty sure I can't. Hart, a registered sex offender, told officers, he goes, well, are you still on probation? Hart's probation had ended a month earlier. Hart recalled the person told him to sign up anyway. See, this is why you don't listen to folks. He said, well, just fill out this form, and if they let you vote, then you can. Hart said, if they don't, then you can't. They made it like it was no big deal. It probably wouldn't have been a big deal if someone wasn't trying to make political noise. Then there's your defense. One of the officers replied, you know what I'm saying. That sounds like a loophole to me. Well, we can hope, Hart said. The officer was correct in one way. State law says that a voter has to willfully commit the crime. A hurdle that has forced some prosecutors not to charge ineligible voters. That's what I was just saying. It has to be willful fraud. In Lake County this year, for example, prosecutors declined to bring charges against 6 convicted sex offenders who voted in 2020. In all the instances where sex offenders voted, each appeared to have been encouraged to vote by various mailings and misinformation. Prosecutor Jonathan Olson wrote, each were given voter registration cards, which would lead one to believe they could legally vote in the election. The evidence fails to show willful actions on the part of these individuals. And they, you know what, when they're arresting these people, they know this. when they did all this is just all for the cameras. But see, this just shows you, as a citizen of the United States, those who's calling themselves that, they use you like Monopoly pieces. They use you like chess pieces so that they can get their agenda enforced. DeSantis' voter fraud arrests are being carried out by the Office of Statewide Prosecution, which is restricted by law to prosecuting crimes including voting involving 2 or more judicial circuits. Those crimes are usually complex, often large-scale, organized criminal activity, according to its website. The statewide prosecutor Nicholas Cox, who was reappointed by Attorney General Ashley Moody in 2019. Oliver's lawyer, Tampa attorney Mark Rankin, said he thinks DeSantis' election security force chose these just 20 people, man. This is not even hardly worth chasing with all the other stuff we got going on. In particular, because the public would not have sympathy for people who were convicted of murder or sexual offenses. During a news conference announcing the arrest, DeSantis noted their criminal records. That's not an accident, Rankin said. That's a political strategy, and I agree. Public defenders representing Hart and Patterson declined to comment. Patterson, a registered sex offender, wondered why he was being singled out when officers showed up at his home. The recording shows this happened years ago, he told officers. Why now? Why me? Even a Tampa police officer driving Patterson to the jail seemed surprised by the charges against him. En route, the officer received a phone call and appeared to briefly discuss Patterson's case. I've never seen these charges before in my entire life, the officer said. Handcuffed in the back seat, Patterson 40 stewed. He said his brother encouraged him to register to vote. I always listen to everybody else. Vote for this. Vote for. Come on, man, Patterson Grubb. I thought felons were able to vote. That's why I signed a petition for him. That's what I remember. Why would you let me vote if I wasn't able to vote? I'm not sure, buddy, the officer replied. I don't know. See, the man tried to do what public said. His brother said, go vote, vote. Let me tell y'all something. Most people are doing something out of sheer cooperation and because it seems like it's the thing to do. That's what most people are doing. So, stop following the crowd. Stop following the crowd. This is a good example. Yeah, okay, they committed some crimes. We're not going to get into it all like something. Well, they was felons. We ain't talking about that. We're not talking about what they did or didn't do in the past. The point is you have public entities, state entities encourage people to do something, could actually commit a crime, and they're paying a price for it. But I think there's some money on the table in this one. What do y'all think? Leave your comments in. Leave your comments as to your thoughts to this. Please like and subscribe to the channel. And peace.
This is Hindsight Radio. I represent it. The information station changing the nation.